All right, welcome to another episode of Shift Talk. Today we've got Matt Guse. See, I pronounced it correctly. He's the president of MRS Machining. We're really excited to have him on. He's written a book, he's run this company for years. He just has a ton of incredible stories. So, to get started, Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you ended up where you are today?
Well, first of all, Adam and Holly, thanks for having me on. It's a great honor to be asked to be on a great podcast. So you guys are doing wonderful things. So I'm looking forward to the conversation today. I'm in the machining industry. We make sculptures here and we don't fab anything. I got into it at a really more of a younger age. I was growing up on a hobby farm, dairy farm, and my dad worked part-time off the farm and he actually worked in the machine shop, right? What's funny is right in our own building. We moved to town and I started sweeping the floors and cleaning the machines, and that's how I got into the trade. But when I got into manufacturing, God gives everybody a gift, and I guess my gift He gave me was making things and using my hands and my mind, and became a passion. So I was a senior in high school, and the owner signed me up for school to go to the tech college, and unfortunately, he got killed in a car accident that
Wow.
that spring. But there were some other things behind the business that wasn't very successful. So it was probably eventually going to close anyways. So we got through that. His family came in and basically shut it down. So my dad was kind of running the place with another guy and became friends with the people, and they had some really expensive material. Ended up putting my dad's garage, and we kind of got into business by mistake and not by planned.
By
Accident, there we go.
It
mistake,
sounds like
by
that.
Yeah,
accident.
and that's the reason I did write this book right here. You can see it. And there's a lot of failures in there. For every success story, there's about 8 or 9 failures. But God has a plan. So I went to the tech college and got my degree, and during that time, I ended up going up north with my best friend who got his wife pregnant. I was going to get married that next month, so we just wanted to go spend maybe a little bachelor party. So, anyways, there was a carload full of gals, and one of them happened to be my wife. I met her during that time, so I ended up getting done with college and then moving up there by her. I kept coming home on the weekends to help my dad, and the day of the wedding, my dad said, "Come work full time." No, I ain't doing that, Dad. I'm happy up here. But so, fast forward 3 months later, here I went back to help my dad. But during that time, my dad had a massive heart attack, and that's one thing I talk about in my book, and I don't want to ruin it. So I knew he had health problems, and we didn't know how long. He was only 42 at the time. Here I'm 20, 19, 20. So I decided to move back, and we did that in his garage for 2 years. We did that till 91, 92. My mom said, okay, it's time to get dad out of here. He's thinking about work. He's got to get away from it. So she found us a building downtown. We moved down there. And then during that time, the checkbook had money in it. We figured we were doing good. Not the way you want to run a business. No business plan, no nothing. But I just asked my dad one day, where are we going with MRS? And he said, well, I'm happy where we're at. Let's just stay small. And I said, no, Dad, I'm 21. I'm going to grow it. And
Of course, like any young person, you want to shoot your shot, right?
exactly. Anyways, they said, all right, I'll support you. And my dad was the guy that shake the stick, now shut up and get busy and get to work because we have work to do. We don't have time to stand around and talk. So I'm 21, and who wants to trust a 21-year-old kid with precision parts? I had more doors closed on me. We didn't have cell phones back then, so it was the traditional cold call, pick up the phone, go knock on the door, you give them a little brochure, business card.
Yeah.
And finally, God had a plan that one day and one week, and I found a couple of customers, and he found customers, and so we went from nothing to something. And so then we had to start. Then we got the experience of hiring people. But I had a great asset. I graduated from the tech college here. At that time, we had about 80 people. And as of today, about 75, 80% of our staff here has come from the tech college, which I happen, fortunately, now they have to be on the board, so which is exciting. Let's go back to high school. I was that troubled kid, and one of my teachers told me that you got to go into this little tech building here because there's no purpose for your life. You're heading down the wrong road, so just go do that. No college. I always put a chip on my shoulder. So then I get on the school board here locally, and guess who's in the union negotiations? He's the head of the new negotiations for the teachers, and I'm on the school board. So we had a really good conversation in closed session one night. So anyways, we ended up starting hiring a bunch of people. And back in about 96, we hired quite a few. We got a government contract, and the Army guy came in there and said, you're not making those parts in that building. Either you get a new building or we're pulling the contract. Well, we just put all our eggs in a basket in that one contract. So we had to move fast. So we got through that. We moved to another building. We hired a bunch of people. The people I have here, the team we have here is amazing. And as I went through business, what the biggest thing that your listeners take away is the word trust. A lot of people like to micromanage, and my dad had a little bit of that, but I'm going to jump ahead here a little bit. So in 2013, my dad ended up passing away. My dad was my best friend, and I was just, you can plan for death and all this, but when it actually hits, it hits you, slaps you right in the face, and it did. And I didn't even walk in here for 3 months. And during that time, I learned what the word trust means, and the people ran the place better than I think I could have possibly ran it. And so that's when I started to realize you got to start putting trust in people. And then when I found out these people are smarter than me, and so mom, no,
You hired well. You hired really well.
well, like I said, I've been blessed. I've had people come into my life or my journey, and that I've been very blessed. But anyways, back to 2000, we moved into a new building, and it still didn't really have cell phones back then. But like today, everybody said that everything's gonna be done on the internet. Well, there's really three things to a conversation. One, I can text you nowadays and call you. The second part is like picking up the phone and talking to somebody or sending, that's about 20%. The 70% of a true conversation is going and knock on the door, meeting the person face to face, because you can feel the energy, you can get a sense of it. Now, one of these Zoom calls and stuff, it helps a little bit, but I don't think it's a true conversation. Meeting someone face to face, that energy is, you can't replicate that. So our sales team here, meeting people face to face. So we go out and knock on doors and we see people, and then the rest takes care of itself. It's just like when we hire somebody here, I like to bring them in and talk to them. And if they're moving to the area, of course, if they're quitting a job, that's a much more bigger decision. If they're married, if they have a partner, bring them in, because they got to meet the people. Because if, I always say, if mommy ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. I made that right, Holly?
You might be right
Yeah,
there.
I'll ask your husband.
Especially because don't you also have a unique relationship with your wife? And isn't she part of the business as well?
Yeah, well,
Right?
yeah, I got two bosses here. She's not here to day-to-day stuff no more. She pretty much staying home taking care of the grandkids and doing that kind of stuff. She gets the mail, but she checks in, and she's a part of it. She's off-site, and she gets good inspiration. It's funny you speak about women. 25% of the people that work at MRS, it is a woman-owned company, by the way. That's why it started, because we got in the government.
very cool.
We got in the government work, and my dad thought that would be, hey, that'd get us on top of the list. But we don't do a whole lot of government work no more, and that's another whole conversation. But no, we have a lot of women working here, and the reason we do that is because women can multitask and do 20 different things at one time. I don't know how you got it. And then you guys like your makeup and you like to look your hair nice. Well, that all goes into your parts, and that all goes into quality. So that's why I'm really
Yeah.
really like when we have women in here. Not, I would more the better. Everybody thinks manufacturing and is all about male dominant. So that's one thing I like to try to change. But so I have great success. I have many success stories. We have a girl named here, Tara. She started in shipping. She went to the Army. She got out of the Army, and she jobbed around a little bit. She's from hometown Augusta, and she was in shipping. And one day we got to ask her to run a machine, and she's like, I can't do that. And I said, well, I couldn't at one time either. So today she's probably one of our best machinists. And she
Wow.
never went to
I believe
school.
it.
She just picked it up and learned it herself, and she's doing a really great job. That's why I like women.
It's almost like she needed the confidence of someone saying, hey, you can do this. Like how did you get her from shipping to this new machine and getting her confidence up? What did that look like?
Yeah, well, I can give you the opportunity here at MRS or even in life, but it's up to you what you want to do with it. Like momentum, you gotta be careful. What is momentum? I can run in place and get nowhere, or you can run and get somewhere. It's up to you what you do with it, and that's why I always tell people, I'll give you the chances, I'll give you the path to success, but you need to take it and go with it. I have a major problem, and I'm addicted to something, and I'm addicted to seeing people be successful. So,
Love that.
that's one thing. If someone can leave here and better themselves, I'm all for them. If someone has an idea, starts their own business, I'm all for them. And there's so much negativity, and everybody's jealous, and all that kind of stuff in this world, and all this social media stuff. But the backside of it, we're setting kids up kind of for failure in a way, because we bring people in here, young people, they get excited, and then they go on this social media on Instagram and TikTok and see these people become instantly successful with all this stuff, and now that's what they think. And what took people here that have been here 15, 20 years to get to where they're at, it took them that long. But these kids want to come in and want to do that in 2 months. That doesn't work. And look at college
Mhm.
sports. You can jump from school to school and get paid, and somehow that's got to stop. And precipitation trophies, and I don't know. I mean, I'm getting a little too political here, but
Yeah,
uh,
hot take there.
yeah, the only it's
No, I like that. I actually was going to ask, do you think traditional education systems just aren't doing, not even just the manufacturing industry, but just overall industry in general, the workforce? Do you think it's still set up for success, or is it really tailored for those folks who are only going for a traditional track of being a lawyer, a doctor, something that's sitting in a classroom, having to learn something from a book day in and day out? Do you think that's a big piece of what has to change?
yeah, because we're training kids today that have jobs that don't even exist. And so how do you do that? The first thing that we have to do is soft skills. We have
100%.
a high school over here, and we call it the Ten Commandments. Now, it's not the biblical Ten Commandments. It's
I was about to say, hold on.
I wish it was, but we do need that in school. But it's the Ten Commandments of soft skills. Show up
Okay.
on time, play nice in the sandbox, stay off your cell phone, listen, attitude, adaptitude, that kind of thing. That's what we teach. And so when these kids get out of school, that's what they know. And in high schools today, they don't have that. I mean, I
Well,
talked to the DPI, which stands for the Department of Public Institution, and I said we need to have a 6-month course on soft skills. And no, we need more 4 years of math, 4 years of English. No, we don't. We need, I can teach the hard skill. That's easy.
Hmm.
We
yeah,
can find paths, but the soft skill I can't. I can't get the person out of bed. I can't get the person here. I can't get the person working. That's the hard stuff. And so that's one thing we pound in that one program's had. And other schools have adopted to it too, but we need more of that in America. Besides having putting God
For
back in
sure.
the schools, and then when they took that out in the '60s, that's when schools started to just really kind of go downhill. But we do need doctors and we do need lawyers, and that has to go to school. Yeah, we need that, but that's not for everybody. I mean, they're very far and few between. And then
right.
technology is changing so fast. We have another school that we're starting academy up, and these kids are in kindergarten and they're learning real life problems in kindergarten. And when they get to be in about third grade, they're designing their own little 3D printed little dog sled race, and they had to learn how to program the robot at third grade, and then they had to make a course. And when they get into fifth, sixth grade, they got to do TED Talks about their future. And when they're in seventh or eighth grade, they're coming up with their own ideas. Last fall, we had a Shark Tank event, and then there was 10 kids in there, and two of them, their ideas were so fabulous that the people on the panel told them they had to go get illegal patent and protection on the ideas. So
Wow.
I love that.
but this is a whole different, this isn't your traditional school. This is more kids about lifting them up and making them feel important and showing them more. It's a STEM-based program, and the outcome's going to be
Hmm.
fabulous. And this is our second year now. Next year will be our third year, and we're building a brand new $40 million high school. And
Oh, wow.
Wow.
and you think all these public schools are struggling financially. We raised $28 million just like that from private. So
That's incredible.
people need to change, and this school is going to change the way schools are made in America. So that's real cool. So I'm excited about that.
Hmm.
So I don't hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think it did. I definitely think it did.
It
Holly?
so reminds me, so I'm gonna squirrel here because it's fun. That so reminds me of your son Lincoln, Adam, because like he's definitely like techie in nature. You guys on the weekends are like building robots or something. I think it definitely starts young, the exposure for sure. And I think going back to what you said, Matt, about soft skills, I think people have been saying that for years. I think what we're seeing is like it's almost like a crisis level where I think we're starting to see Gen Z enter the workforce, and there's some gaps there and how they manage themselves in the workforce. So I think intentional focus on those soft skills needs to be a priority moving forward for sure.
Yep, less screen time and more outdoor time. That's what I always say.
Hmm.
It just people are walking around with their heads on, and I do a lot of cycling. And 20 years ago, it wasn't really a problem, but now I go by, and half the cars I go by are looking at people looking at their phone. It's scary to death, and it's just like nobody recognizes what their surroundings.
Hmm. So it was yesterday I saw this email from you. So you send out like, I think it's weekly,
Yep.
Sundays, you send an email out. It's Faith in Nature, just pointing that out there. But you said something that I think will really resonate with people about you invested in a young person, and just tell me a little bit more of what you shared in the email, and specifically the pain of, okay, I hired on this young person, I really want them to stay a long time, I've invested so much in them, but they choose to leave. Like, how do you, as a leader, how do you balance that?
Well, yeah. So, following my book, I started writing weekly letters. Like you said, it's faith-based, but I just, what God lays in my heart that week, I expressed it. But no, the schools I work with over here, we go to all the career fairs and stuff, and we meet people, and we try to get them into manufacturing. We try to find the kids that need that second chance in life, or from broken homes, and really don't know what they want to do with their life. We know we have success with bringing these people in here. And this particular person that I was known him since a freshman comes from a really rough home, and he didn't have no confidence. There's a lot of stories like this, but anyways, this particular guy, he wouldn't be where he's at today. And my team, when we hire somebody from outside and bring them in, we don't look at them like they're going to take our job away, or who is this guy? We bring them in and we say, hey, this person's going to make our job easier. So we want to put everything we want into them and learn them, get them up to par as fast as we can, because it makes everybody's job easier. This particular person was really doing a great job in hitting it. And in the last 2 years, he got around some people that, oh, you can go better, you can get more money, they're not appreciating you. But in reality, I went and bought a car for him and helped him pay it off. I paid for his schooling,
Wow.
but he forgot all that. And so when he left, I used to get really kind of upset about it. Why am I training these people? And why me? And I got to you take me and you turn the W upside down, it's called we. And it's not about my plan, it's about God's plan. So that's the way I got to look at it. Just people come into your life and come and go, and you just need to make the best of it and use it for His plan and not your plan, and life will be much easier. So that's the way I change my thought, and it seems to be a whole lot better, and it gives you more sense of peace. But for every time something bad happens, there's usually 2 or 3 more things good to happen to come out of it. So that's what I learned through my 40-year journey so far. So
Lessons learned through life. And I think one thing too, as you were saying, that there's so much we can control, and I think it's better to invest in the person versus fear that, okay, they're just not going to stay for 20, 30 years. So I think like that's a better mindset to go into, just my opinion, versus being afraid of not investing.
Yeah, because you never know where that person's going to end up next. They could end up coming back. We all make, let's just say, not great decisions when we're younger. The grass always seems greener on the other side. And a lot of times we follow those impulses only to look back and go, oh, wow, I really should have chosen differently back then. And
Especially in
I'm
your 20s. Can we all say that
especially,
of our 20s? Because I'm not 20s, just so you know,
yeah,
guys.
you look 20. You look 20. There we go.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
okay. This is going to really help when I'm like in my 40s and 50s, but right now it's like, okay, I know I
So
look like a college student.
yeah, but I got letters and emails from people that have left, and about 80% of them thanked me. If it wasn't for what we
Mhm.
did, they wouldn't be where that in their life, and most of them want to come back within 6 months, 2 years. So that's why I
Wow.
always tell
Okay.
people, when you leave a company, do it professionally. Don't burn the bridge.
Yeah, don't
Mm.
burn the bridge. Yes. I think too many people burn the bridge when they move on. And yes, speaking of another soft skill, a Ten Commandment soft skill, that should be one of
Oh, it is.
them.
It is. Yep, it is. It is.
Don't burn a
Don't
bridge.
burn bridges.
I'll have to send you the 10 Commandments of soft skills. Um,
Do it. Do it.
Yeah, because we hear a lot of, especially at the supervisor level and with a lot of companies we partner with, you hear a lot of them just getting burned out, right?
Mhm.
That they're seeing, especially among the younger workforce, they're coming in, maybe they decide it's not for them, and maybe it's like what you said, they get a job offer for 50 cents more across the street and they go and leave, and you stay on that hamster wheel for long enough and you just get to a point where you go, why are we even bothering? But I like the point you brought out that if you don't invest that time, energy, resources into people, they're even more likely to leave. And how else are you going to cultivate the next generation of supervisors and leaders and machine shop owners if you don't invest in them when they aren't making great decisions?
Mm.
Yep, exactly. We hire a lot of interns here during the summer, and we know if someone coming in, not all of them are going to stay here. Like one would just wanted to learn machining because he wanted to be an engineer. We've had a couple of them out, some big companies that moved out to California, aerospace companies. Well, if we treated them right, we didn't treat them right during that process, they wouldn't respect us. And I know every once in a while we'll get an email or drawing sent over. What do you think about this? And it's led us into some business opportunities. And I like to treat people how I want to be treated. And when I hire people here, I like to do the things in threes because in four I can't do no more. But I always tell people I want you here. That's number one. Number two, you want to be here. And then let's make it so we never work another day in our life again. That's how we got to think of it. That's really that simple. And another question I get asked, Matt, how are you successful? How is MRS successful? Well, that's easy. You walk the shop, you walk the floor. You find the cancer and kill it before it becomes a problem. And everybody has a bad day or two, but if that problem bothers you the third day, let's figure it out. Let's talk about it. Your best recruiters in your business are your team. What do I mean? What do I
Yeah.
mean by
So
that?
true.
So I was walking the floor one day, and this guy kept, like for a week or two, he was just quiet. And I go, "What's the matter with you?" He goes, "Well, I got this toothache." Well, go to the dentist. Well, I can't get in for 3 months. Well, I'll get you in tomorrow.
What?
Yeah, I couldn't get in the dentist for 3 months. And
Holy crap.
like I said, it's how you treat people. People should treat you back the same. And I said, well, I'll get you in the dentist tomorrow. This is like 3 in the afternoon. And I'm like, I can't. I got my dentist. I'm good friends with him. He'll get you in. I'll get you in. So I called my dentist up. Within 20 minutes, I got him an appointment. Next morning, he comes in, got his tooth fixed, had a root canal, all infected. And 3 o'clock in the
Oh.
3 o'clock in the afternoon, him and his wife were in my office in tears. He said, no one's ever did
Oh,
nothing so nice for us. I'm like, I said, the way I looked at it is that tooth was going to bother you for another 3 months. The productivity we're going to lose, your attitude, you may miss work. I mean, that paid for itself in no time. For $250 or whatever it was, that's nothing. So now, what do you think they're going to tell? They're going to tell their whole family and their friends, and so
yeah.
that's why I'm saying little things can turn into big things. And
I think it's also seeing them at a human level too, because they are human and they make mistakes or they're having a bad day, they have a toothache or something. And I think walking the floor, I'm hearing that a lot on LinkedIn right now, or at least the people that I'm following, they're giving the advice to please walk the floor and get to know your people. And I think I just sometimes wonder, like, why aren't more leaders doing that? And what's your advice to do it? Is it a bandwidth thing? What is it?
if I don't do it now, I feel bad. And it's just like brushing your teeth, make it a habit. It's not always good. I'm going to tell you, there's days where you're like, why did I put myself in that fire?
Why did I? Yeah.
You knew it was going to be bad and it turned into bad, but you just pick up the pieces and keep moving forward because eventually it's going to all settle down, the dust will settle, and then they'll look back and say, well, Matt was here and he did want to help. And I always tell people when they do come to me with a problem, they better have the answer because I don't work in that machine. I don't work in that floor. I don't deal with that customer. I can give you an opinion, but it might be the wrong one. But most people just want you to come with the problem, come with the solution. They just want to be, yep, that's a great idea. And I used to run the machine in the floor. Actually, I had more hair in my head. And for the first couple of years, there were big parts. And these parts are 1,500-pound parts, and it was scary, right? So the work holding on it was like a little scary to them, but to me it wasn't. And I just had to go up to them, and they go, "What do you think?" I go, "I think it's a great work holding. It'll be just fine." So I built trust in them, and that's no different walking the floor. You just got to show up and be available, and if they have something to say, they'll say it to you. If not, so that.
Well, that's a great attitude. We've been seeing more of it and talking about it more because I think it's become too easy, especially in medium to large facilities where everybody just becomes a number. And I think in some ways, whether they do it intentionally or not, it's easier to reduce headcount, make major changes that are going to impact employees most likely in a negative way if you haven't built those relationships. And I think that's just a symptom of what companies keep going through where, we completely understand that there's ebbs and flows in the economy, right? We saw what happened before COVID, during COVID, after it, even the last few years, everything feels like we can't forecast 3 years out. We can barely forecast 30 to 90 days. And so the issue becomes that the workforce can sense that
Yep.
when the employer just doesn't have a connection or a vested interest in their future. And then it becomes this cycle of, then we hear feedback from supervisors and plant managers and leadership going, well, nobody wants to work. They don't care about staying here. And it's hard to get them to understand, well, that's a symptom from the way they've been treated, most likely at other companies. And now they have an attitude of, well, the company doesn't care about me. Why should I care about
Yep.
it?
So one of the things we do here, every month we shut the whole place down, and we go over the good, bad, and ugly, and exactly what you said. We go over here's a new customer, here's a new opportunity, here's what we didn't do so good, and here's our financial stuff. So when people want to go buy a home and buy a truck, they want to make sure they have job security. So
Yeah.
we're all on the same page. We're not hiding nothing here. That's just the way we operate, being hush hush. I mean, some things you got to be hush hush, obviously, but not everything. But just want to give people a sense of security. And another thing I'm going to throw out there before I forget, when we give tours, every high school in your area better know you by first name and where you're at. Because if they don't, you're not doing enough. And you want the teachers and the educators to know, hey, there's an opportunity over here at MRS. You should go take a look at it. And the secret sauce of that is food. Give food. And
Now you got my attention.
yeah,
Yeah, you definitely do.
yeah, and give them a T-shirt. We buy all these T-shirts and we give a T-shirt, and then we always give the bus driver or the person that brought them over the teacher a shirt too. And then we go back to school the next day, and now we're the cool kid. They're the cool kid because they got an MRS shirt. And that one of the things
That's
you have
cool.
to do, and you got to brand it. And then another thing on top of that, the gas station and the restaurant down the road, better than who we are. Make sure you keep them happy because I had this customer come in and he flew in from down south, and first thing he did, he went to the restaurant and he started asking about us. Now, if that restaurant person would have said, "Oh, that's not a very nice place. There ain't nice people," he would have come in here with a whole different attitude. But he came in with a positive attitude, thinking, "Hey, these people are great. 'Cause these people on the road told me that." And of course, and then we got a whole bunch of work for him because of that. So, and of course, if someone comes in a restaurant looking for a job or a gas station looking for a job, where do you think they're going to refer you to? So.
That's
You
right.
got to get out there, and that's I say my part-time job now is just getting out and talking with the community, and
Yeah.
so that's
No, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm going to circle back to something that you said a little bit earlier in this conversation about young people and social media. So here's something that I'm seeing and observing. So I 100% agree with you. The in-person connection is important. But knowing that young people are on social media, I know you have a hot take on it, but do you think that it is smart to consider how do we represent ourselves online? Because that's show up where the people are at, right?
yep.
How can manufacturers in particular kind of, because there's a little bit of a perception, the 3Ds, right? Dark, dirty, and dangerous. How can we overcome this brand perception of the industry?
Yep. So I have two things there. One is that
Yeah.
I kept going to these career shows a lot, and we've been doing it for 15, 20 years, if not longer. And 2 years ago, this guy comes up to me and he goes, "Matt, nobody wants to stand here and talk to an old guy. These kids want to talk to somebody
Oh,
young." And I'm like,
okay.
"Oh." I went
Oh,
home and I
okay.
thought about that for a while, and I like, geez, he's absolutely right. We got to get somebody young in there. Of course, we had a couple of young people come, and so out of that, we started hiring somebody, and we're going to hire somebody in the front office, and this person had a degree in MBA in marketing. So now, in the last year, we've hired a person that does our marketing, younger, and does all the Instagram and all that. I'm not a social media guru. Facebook is it? TikTok? I don't know what. There's another one.
Yeah, you got the majors. You got the majors. If you're not doing LinkedIn, I would do that
Yeah,
too.
yep.
Just throwing it out
I'm
there.
on there. I've been on LinkedIn since '09 because that's when I tore my Achilles, and that's another story.
Man, you're an OG on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Holy cow! I don't even when was LinkedIn even like a thing? Anyway,
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm an old. Yeah,
Squirrel.
just when it came out because I didn't like the
Wow.
Facebook stuff, anyways. But so yeah, so then all the young kids are all. It's all social media. I go to Christmas or Easter or whatever. All the young, my nieces and nephews are all on their phones, and you're just like, whatever happened to playing cards and playing games and kick the can? That's all gone. But so yeah, so they're on it. So you have to make a presence on it, and
Yeah.
we're trying to get better at it and show them the new cool stuff, tech savvy stuff, and
Because I think they're again, I think there's a little bit of a misperception about what the environment's like, and I think the more that we can show young people this is actually what it is, I think it's going to be easier to recruit young people into these environments is just my
Yep. So we try to
take.
show them that what we do here, it's like playing a video game and then being on your cell phone, because that's what all these touchscreen controls we got now, and
Yeah.
you got
That's
all this
sweet.
3D CAD stuff that makes a model, and so that's kind of how we've been approaching it. That's what I tell kids anyway. They're
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, that's cool." So
Yep. Speak their language.
yeah,
You got it.
yep,
Yeah, it's like Minecraft in real life. I
Oh
mean, you get to
gosh.
build stuff.
yeah, exactly.
You and Minecraft, Adam.
I
Lincoln would be
know.
so proud.
I know. They just don't realize. I tell them about the facility tours I do all the time, and I'm like, man, you would love to see what they build here and how it works and how they troubleshoot things and the technology behind it and how you have to problem solve all the time. And like you were saying earlier, Matt, those are the skills that we need to be teaching kids. It's what they're hungry for, right? They don't want to sit in front of a worksheet for hours on end. They want to figure things out and take it apart and put it back together, use their imagination. And a lot of times they come up with stuff that you just stop and go, well, why didn't I ever think like that's actually brilliant? Why are we doing it the way we've been doing it for 100 years?
Yep.
So, what other things have you seen that you've put into place? I know you've got some great stories in your book. What other real world things have you put into place at MRS that you've been surprised by the results?
Oh, oh boy.
Good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that one. The robot part of it was kind of cool. Everybody thought when we were going to put robots in there, oh, it's going to come take our jobs away, because that's what everybody was saying, just like AI. And that's why I
Yeah.
go back to the Y2K thing. Sorry. But, I put a robot in there and I let it sit there for 3 months. Not by choice, but kind of by accident. But it ended up being a great thing because everybody kept walking by that, looking. And then once we got it going, and people are like, whoa. And this is actually nice because now it takes care of all the physical, it loads the part, unloads the part, and does all that. And it's really cool and fancy and shiny. And now we want more robots, and then we can do other things. And that everybody thinks that's really cool. And I think we did put some things out there in social media. And I don't know, recently our lady here, she got like I don't know how many hundred thousands of views off it. So, and
Wow.
in some of the space explorations parts we do here, I ain't going to say the name of the company, but I can tell you that the parts are flying over your head, and that's kind of cool. And they're going up in the sky, and you start showing the videos, and where the part goes on that particular thing is really cool. So that kids need that scientific stuff, and when you're standing in front of a rocket or standing out in somewhere in NASA, that's pretty cool stuff. So that gets them interested. And I think that cell phone is like a walking library, and we're building
Yeah.
libraries are kind of really going away because it's all on your phone now. So it is a tool. And what's hard for us is what kind of cell phone can be on the floor and what do you do with it? If you're taking pictures, and
Yeah.
you gotta be careful because everybody gets so excited about pictures of parts, but we use it more as a tool, like for cutting speeds, looking up tools. We use it more of a resource. So um,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably the coolest thing I think in the last few years. But then again, I'm old.
What do we
What
know,
do we
right?
know? Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of that trending that way, whether it's within our workforce or even some companies we work with, where instead of sitting them, which is hilarious to me, right? You're taking a group of people that typically, just like you and me, didn't excel in a classroom setting, right? So they were drawn towards manufacturing, using their hands. And the first thing they do is put them in a classroom for a week to go through PowerPoint slides and orientations. And a number of companies we work with have actually stopped and said, this doesn't make sense,
Mm.
right? These are folks that are here because they enjoy working with their hands. They learn visually, they learn by doing. And so what they're integrating is more technology assisted training, right? It's okay, you do have a device, maybe it's a phone, maybe it's a tablet, and it's walking you through what you need to do as you're doing it. Just like we've all become used to, when my lawnmower isn't working and I need to figure out how to fix it, I'm laying in the grass with my phone on YouTube going,
YouTube.
you know, oh, that's what that does. And adjusting the traditional training and onboarding methods to more of a technology enabled, okay, you're going to learn as you're doing it and working with somebody who is an expert, but we also want you to be able to troubleshoot this. Are you seeing more of that come into play your facility or others?
Yeah, YouTube's a great tool. Everybody uses it, and it's got the world so much better. And even here, one of my visions for education, and I don't trying to push this more, especially in my industry, is CapEx real heavy, and to teach somebody on a machine is really really hard. And we're doing a great job of getting new technology into high schools and stuff. But every high school's doing it, and you're talking hundreds of
Hmm.
thousands of dollars investment. Then you go to the tech college, and they're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in investment. And then you got us that's doing hundreds of thousands of dollars. How do we take that money and pull it into one and use it so we can actually make a revenue off it? We can teach young kids on it, and we can save the schools more money, and we can pay the teachers what they're worth. That's why we're losing high school teachers. Another thing you can do is hire teachers part-time here during the summer, because most teachers are looking for a job, and we like to get them in here,
Right.
show them, and then they can go back to school and say, hey, this is cool stuff. But
That's a great idea.
and yeah, it's a great success, and they're my best recruiters in the high school. And you know what, the teachers come in here and they're like, oh, 45,000, 50,000, and I'm sitting there going, if you worked here for 3 or 5 years, you'd probably be making 70 or 80, and you'd have full
Right.
benefits. And
Wow.
I'm like, that's the rule number one. We don't hire teachers away from the school, but we need to get the teachers paid up. That all kind of went away, and that's the number one thing is the people are going into the industry and not, we're losing good teachers, and it's sad. And so somehow I'm getting close, but I'm trying to create a plan. And that Venture Academy I told you about, we're doing that. So it's fun stuff. And that's what Cardinal Manufacturing is. It's actually my competitor, but if I'm threatened by a bunch of high school kids working 2 hours a day, I got other problems. And it's a business because what it does is it creates a school revenue. It creates revenue for the program so we can buy equipment and buy tools, but the kids get paid. Kids are getting paid to come to high school. And I know there's not too many high schools in America that you get paid to come to high school. So
No, it's
it's kind
Yeah,
of
incredible.
like
that
a
is rare.
storm starting to form. You got to have all the ingredients. So how do we just take that now and just put it all into one? And I think we'd be successful, but I'm not the brilliant guy. So, but that's my idea.
Well, I know we could be spending another hour here, so we're gonna wrap up
I
here
was
in
gonna
a
say,
second. I know, I know. But Matt, is there any final wisdom story that you want to share with us before we wrap her up?
My biggest thing, I tell people, that are in life, find a mentor. Because everybody
Mm,
struggles, and you got to have some place to go to. You got to have somebody that's there for you, but make sure you find
yeah.
one that doesn't want to tell you everything you want to hear and agree with you. Find somebody out there that you can go
Yes.
to and a problem. There's people that help. Like reach out to me. I'm willing to help anybody. Like I said, I'm addicted to seeing people be successful. So I
I
highly
love that.
suggest that. Get involved in people. Just don't put the whole weight and problem on yourself. Find
Hmm.
somebody and they'll help you. And that's why I always try to go to a gas station or wherever and just say hi and smile. That's all you need to do some days.
Hmm.
So, and be
Yep.
positive. Wake up positive. And
I love that
when you put your
advice.
shoes on in the morning, think of something positive. You have a positive day.
Love
So,
that. Thanks so much,
yep.
Matt.
What's a good way for people to get in touch with you? Is it LinkedIn? I mean, clearly it's not Facebook. Don't go to
Well, I
Facebook.
guess I'm
Or
on there.
TikTok.
Yeah. No, just Google my name, Matt Guse. Guse, and I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah, and just go to MRS Machining and call me up, and I'll pick up the phone. I'm not bashful, and I'm willing to help. Sometimes I'm not always responsive, but as you read my book, you'll know why you can't get a hold of me between 4 and 6.
Tell us more. Why can't we,
Because that's, as a leader of a company, you got to take care of yourself, and
Yeah.
you need to have that free time. So I have this
Mhm.
thing called cycling, and then so I always go out exercising, and I always try to come up with 3 different things, ideas during and I write them down, and at the end of the week I come up with one good idea. But you need to take care of yourself, be healthy. That's in my book, and then you need to just take and clear your mind out, and so that's the reason I do that.
So
I
much
love that.
wisdom.
Yeah,
Love it. Thanks so much, Matt.
yeah. Well, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. This has been
Well,
great.
you guys are awesome. You're doing great things, so thank you.